is Weldon, a very happy animal-based eater. How old are you?
69.
69. When did you turn animal-based?
Now I've got to do some math.
Okay, that's fine.
But it was...
That's what the fats are for, healthy brain.
Yeah, healthy brain. 2002 is when I had my stroke. And that was right after 9/11, which was very stressful. And I was in the financial management business. So watching those two tires fall changed the United States. And so we all remember those days.
So you can start animal-based at any time, so 42, and you're still eating animal-based, fats, eggs. I mean,
now.
You should have seen his breakfast this morning. Bacon, eggs, raw milk, and bacon was beef bacon, actually. Eggs cooked in coconut oil, all that.
And
all
pork
the healthy
sausage?
fats. Right.
No, it was goat sausage.
Goat sausage. That's amazing. So at any age, but you were eating very differently before your stroke.
On the way to the hospital, my wife drove me through Burger King to get a Whopper.
You didn't tell me this?
Yes. And so, but she didn't want to have me eating the really lousy hospital food, so I ate the lousy, conventional, fast food. So that's part of what caused my stroke, was that my wife and I were very much the conventional consumer, the grocery stores and the fast food restaurants. But we had this wake up, and we did change our eating habits radically. We moved to the farm. I started managing a ranch. We got free, a beef that we could process every year. We ate our own rabbits. We had our own beef, our own chickens and eggs, ducks, geese, all of it. And it was a great lifestyle for our young kids. And so we didn't really know exactly how fast eating clean would resolve some of my cardiovascular issues, but it was relatively quick. After just 5 years, we got our the second scan, and the technician said, I just don't really see any plaque in these arteries. So I would say, whatever you're doing, keep doing, because it's worked well.
And something that the doctor said that was irreversible, and you guys were planning for his decline. So what does that mean? Heavy medications, or just, planning for that, but you guys didn't want to accept that?
No, they prescribed 4 prescriptions and said I'd be taking them for the rest of my life, which I never did take.
Are you on any?
No.
No.
And my wife and I, neither one of us are on any pharmaceuticals, and we're the only one in my graduating class in Tahoka that aren't on some prescriptions. My brother's on prescriptions. Most of the world is on prescriptions, certainly in America. But Ann and I are not. We eat animal-based, heavy carnivore, but we certainly like our fruits. And Ann's a great baker. We bake our own bread. So we are. What do we say about the proteins? The germ and the wheat germ and the bran are baked in, so it's fresh. Freshly milled.
All things done from scratch.
And it's all protein when you do it that way. There's no starch in that bread. And so that's part of the recipe that has helped us regain our health.
And you eat things that are pretty much going to make any cardiologist weak in the knees if you tell them to, play what we had this morning. Exactly. But yet, here you are, healthy, still working every day on the ranch, and, just healthy and happy as can be, it seems like.
I would guess that we've done very well since the stroke to turning our health around, eating clean, and being very animal-based. And my dad was very animal-based, but he was animal-based in the wrong way. He grain finished all of our animals that we ate, but my granddad didn't. My granddad had about a 1 acre garden, about a half-acre orchard, and another half-acre, let's say, of berries, just like we were eating today. They were growing those berries, and we just ate off his farm. And his approach to managing his farm was whatever amount of land he had, only a quarter of it was used to grow a cash crop. The other 3/4 were for the cattle, whatever animals we had to be grazing out there, and he rotated that. Every year it changed, and so he was always doing some rotational grazing. But he only lived off the quarter of the land, and that was enough for them. because they didn't spend their money frivolously at the fast food restaurants.
Right. And so then before the stroke too, then when your dad changed to, conventional and grain fed and all that. So you still had, beef and sort from the farm, but
Correct.
it was a different way.
It was grain finished.
It was grain finished. And so
and that contributed further to the stroke that I had with the plaque, build up in the carotids. And so we just rarely eat that way anymore, and it's only when we're out socially and we want to be polite, we'll eat what's served to us. But 95% of our calories come from, clean proteins, clean vegetables, clean fruits, and the body uses that really well and helps clean up the mess that we had caused by our poor eating habits. And here I am still today. We run quite a number of cattle. We sell to Whole Foods and another grocery store chain, and we sell our beef retail in West Texas and most of Texas. They order from us. We deliver to 5 cities in Texas once a month, which makes us busy people. And so thankfully we're able to share our pasture finished beef with several thousand retail customers, and all the customers that Whole Foods has. That's where our beef goes in live. And then we sell through an organization called the Grass-Fed Livestock Association, GLA, and we ship them 40 animals a month as well. So we're shipping 80 animals a month, which is quite a few head of cattle to run. And then on the retail side, we can finish about 100 to 125 animals a year.
Right.
And so a lot of people in Texas eat our beef. Thank goodness.
Well, thank you for providing such amazing quality beef.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah, no, it's such a pleasure to be out here and just love, visiting different ranches and shaking the farmer's hand.
Yeah, and so from here, you're going to ride over to the little town of Plains, and we're going to pick you up.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Just, if you're down the bar ditch, you're good, or you can take the shortcut and go straight across.
I'll take the shortcut. So this is Ann from Holy Cow. And we're out here on the pasture amongst their cattle, and they just make really good quality, which is very important, quality beef, grass-fed and grass-finished.
Yes, ma'am.
And so about 20 so years ago, you and your husband Weldon were on this health journey to eat better. I mean, you guys did come from eating out a lot and fast.
Standard American diet, totally,
Standard
100%.
American diet.
We had 4 very little kids, and they were involved in everything, went through fast food a lot. We ate bad. Yes, we did.
So when you transitioned, you didn't just transition to eating meat, buying at Costco, grabbing a, steak, ribeye, all those things, right?
Right. So it was interesting, kind of the way God puts people in your path. But before Weldon had that stroke, he had started reading an article about a gentleman who was leaving cattle on pasture. And he's like, wow, that's what my granddad did. His granddad, who lived to 95, his dad, who only lived to his early 80s, with a lot of medical help, hundreds and thousands of dollars of medical intervention for his dad to live till he was 80. But anyway, so Weldon had read about that. So when the stroke happened, when our life turned upside down, he was already in the know about it had to be grass finished. It had to be cattle because he was aware of the omega-3s. Eventually we became aware of conjugated linoleic acid, vitamin A, D, a lot of other things that are mega dosed on grass finished beef. Correct. As opposed to corn finished or soy finished or any kind of grain finished beef. So yeah, we definitely knew it needed to be that.
Yeah. And you can tell, mostly in just, you were talking about your blood work earlier,
yes.
Too, just the difference that it makes.
Oh, huge. Yes. One thing that was interesting, so I guess my husband he was about 44, maybe 45, when he had a stroke. And it was a pretty severe one. He spent 3 days in the hospital. But it was about 5 years later, and he was 50% blocked in both carotids and all 6 arteries of the heart. Everything was very, very congested. But about 5 years later, after changing proteins was the main thing that we changed because of our little kids. We weren't knowledgeable yet. We still ate sugar to some degree. We still would go to Little League, play and eat a hot dog at the field with white bread, all that kind of stuff that we just don't do now. But anyways, 5 years later, he had a full body scan and he was clean, 100% clean. And we've had doctor after doctor say that's not possible. You can't clean flack. We've had, but we've got the scans. And so Weldon took the scans back to that doctor, and that gentleman said, that's a miracle. Count yourself blessed. And we're like, don't you think food had something to do with it? And he was so adamant that it wasn't food, and which is insane. It was really insane. But anyways, yes, that's what we did.
So would you say that quality was also a very important factor in like where you kind of sourced this protein from, right? It wasn't just like a factory.
It was, and we also, because our lifestyle radically changed, we became financially not poor, but by financially just living barely. And so blessed enough that we raised our own beef, raised a lot of our own protein. But we stopped eating out. We stopped going through the fast food. So the quality of protein that we ate was so high that it completely flipped his health in a matter of 5 years. I mean, your body is built to heal, but you got to give it the right fuel.
Right.
So, and we can talk about that just for a second. When cattle are fed grain, especially in a feedlot, their omegas 3 to 6 ratio changes dramatically. When they're left where God's meant them to be in the pasture, just on grass, finished on grass, they're going to become anywhere from 1 to 1, 1 to 4, 1 omega-3 up to 4 omega-6s. That's what true grass finished beef should yield. And ours actually gets randomly tested because we're certified by American Grass Fed, and ours tests about 1 to 3 consistently. But when you take them straight out of a feedlot, which is where they're not getting access to any grass at all, it is 1 omega-3 to 50 omega-6s. And that's where all of your plaque is coming from. Yeah. That's where that congestion is coming from.
That's why cardiovascular disease is one of the
top
killers
of the number one. Yeah.
So with that being said, okay, great. I'm someone who's like, great, let me go get grass-fed beef at the grocery store. Hold on a second, right? This is why I'm a big proponent of those talking to their farmers, to their ranchers, to their cowboys, whatever y'all want to be called. But I think it's really important to shake the farmer's hand or the rancher's hand to have these conversations, because there's a lot of greenwashing that goes on with labels, and grass-fed has been thrown around and isn't really necessarily grass-fed. So do you want to tell them a little bit about your journey with the grass-fed certification?
Yes. So I think it was 2004, 2005-ish, sometime in that early 2000s, Weldon was chosen to sit on a labeling board with Will Harris and FSIS.
And Will Harris from White Oak
Harris.
Pastures.
He was there all in Austin, Texas at Whole Foods. And they came up with what it meant, which was always 100% or lifetime graze. These are some of the terms that you can see now in the marketplace. But we felt like we lost because we didn't get no antibiotics, no hormones. So we walked away from that thinking, okay, that's fine. At least we got a grass-fed label. Well, Obama takes office, hires Tom Vilsack, who is probably still the vice president of Monsanto. And he immediately withdrew that label and said all beef can be labeled grass-fed because all cattle eat grass. True, all cattle eat grass at some point in their life. At some point they're sold and they go into the feedlots and they stop eating grass. And then there's also something called pastured beef. Pastured beef are cattle that are in the pasture, but they're still fed grains. And those omega-3s end up being 1 omega-3 to about 20 or 30 omega-6s. Again, that's way out of whack. That's not okay. But you get to label that as grass-fed. And so when you're in a grocery store and you're paying more for grass-fed, but you're not getting the same health results, that becomes a problem. And that was in about 2016, I think. We lost a third of our business right at that day. I think the bill was passed like on Thursday or Friday. By Monday in Sam's, Walmart, etc., there was grass-fed lasagna already on the shelf. The bill just got withdrawn the week before, and the following week there were grass-fed labeled beef products in these big box stores. So obviously there was a little bit of crony capitalism going on with that. So, and we lost about a third of our business. All of our customers have come back because they, being very budget minded, and we'll talk about that on another short video. Yes. But they did buy the cheaper grass fed, but they didn't get the same health benefits because you're not going to. And so anyways, we are purists, as people say. I love talking to the meat mafia boys. They say purists like us like to eat, whole cow beef, but 100% grass fed and grass finished, just the way God intended it to be.
The biggest bang for your buck, really.
100%. Yep.
If you buy cheap meat from a cost perspective, you're going to buy cheap nutrition. It's watered down, and you're not going to get it ounce per ounce. You're not going to get the macro and micronutrients that honestly you deserve in that nature intended.
That nature intended. Yep. Yep. And your body is designed to heal when you give it those really high quality. It matters for people in our age group. It matters. Some of these young people, you're walking on borrowed time. And honestly, we have nephews that are already on statins. And they're in their 30s, and they're on statins, and they're on things. Weldon is 69, I'm 61, and we're not on anything, and any pharmaceuticals. So, but we also don't eat out very much. We eat at home, really high quality, and we're blessed to have our own beef. So.
Yeah. So I think, definitely the takeaway here too is just quality does really matter.
Yes.
Now, and it matters for the future too as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.